Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Mortensen from ALEC Public Affairs, and I am broadcasting from the States and Nation Policy Summit in downtown Washington, D.C. Joining me today as a very special guest, Cherise Trump. Cherise Trump has been with ALEC before, and we're very grateful for your support and your membership. Tell us a little bit about the organization you represent. It is speechfirst.org.
Yeah, so Speech First is a nonprofit organization, and we litigate on behalf of our student members against universities that violate their free speech rights. We also advocate for students and then educate them on various policy issues and on their legal rights as well.
Well, I feel like you must be doing a great job because over the last few years, we have heard so many stories of free speech violations on our college campuses.
Oh, yeah. It's a never-ending story, unfortunately. Now, granted, universities will kind of take new steps and they'll put new policies in place to kind of subversively go after free speech on campus. But, initially you see kind of the free speech zones is what we started out with, or you see things like where they literally just try to put restrictions on what words you can use. But now they're being a little bit more insidious. Now they have policies like what we call bias reporting systems, where they actually solicit reports from students on one another on incidents of bias, right? And so incidents of bias can mean anything the university wants it to mean. It could mean offensive speech, hateful speech, any kind of like jokes, stereotyping, microaggressions. Again, these are all constitutionally protected forms of speech. And this is what the schools are asking students to report on each other. This is why it's so scary, because you're like, we've seen this before. We know what this leads to, and we know what kind of behavior this encourages. And if this is the front lines of the culture war, if this is what students are learning the second they step off campus, they're going to take the same mindset and implement it where they start working. They're going to go work for tech companies. They're going to be CEOs. They're going to represent us internationally. They're going to work in the government. Where do you think they're learning everything that they're doing now?
Well, actually, Cherise, I think we're already seeing this.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Mm-hmm. So it's already made its way out of the colleges, and now they're doing it in some of these tech businesses. And
the concept of censorship and compelled speech is something that started on the university campus and now is bleeding over into our professional world.
So what can state lawmakers do to address this?
Yeah, so we're here actually presenting model policy on bias reporting systems. The great thing about this policy is that it actually is focused enough and precise enough to where state legislators can target the actual policy itself on campuses by saying, these bias reporting systems, not only are they bad, but they discourage and chill student speech. They discourage debate and open discourse, and they make it to the point where students don't even know what they're allowed to say. So this policy will help state legislators essentially try to target policies that really do tamp down on student speech on campus.
So I'm going to put up your website, and I want people to go check it out. It is freespeech.org. Speechfirst.org. It's on your screen. You can see that. And then let's get the, there you go. You can see the website there. Tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you have at speechfirst.org. How can lawmakers use your organization as a resource?
Yeah, so in addition to the model policy, we've also done a lot of research on the issue of bias reporting systems, and we've put on kind of an interactive map on, you can track what universities have these policies on their campus. You can also look at various things. We've been tracking, doing reports on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and critical race theory efforts on campuses that specifically target student speech and try to shut down debate. So that is another thing that we also have done a lot of research on regarding freshman orientation.
Well, here we go. I just pulled that up. Freshman disorientation report.
Right.
Student tip line. If your speech is being censored or compelled on campus, we want to hear about it.
Yes.
Oh my, do you get a lot?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we hear stories all the time that just make your head want to explode, because you're like, how is this still happening? This should be free speech should have been a settled issue long ago in this country.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing that they're trying to find different ways to go after it. I've actually seen evidence where campuses have tried to make free speech the concept of free speech itself, actually something that's negative and should be shut down. You've seen like Colorado State University, I think, had a sign that said, free speech or if you or someone has experienced a free speech incident, here are a list of 17 different counseling methods that you can use on campus to help get you through that. And I'm just like, wait, free speech is now the bad guy, right? So that is how they're
Wow.
characterizing it. And again, when you talk about the freshman disorientation report, the reason we looked into that is we were wondering why students were so keen to report each other to these bias reporting systems. And it's because the second they step on campus, the universities are telling them that they essentially they should be looking around, like walking on eggshells, looking over their shoulders. These are not their peers. They're actually potential enemies who are going to be, offending them in various ways, committing microaggressions against them. And they should be prepared to be offended and should report their fellow students.
So just to close out, there are tools,
Yes.
model policies that state lawmakers can use to address these issues in their state colleges and universities.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you think at any point, Charisse, the pendulum will swing back and go a little bit towards the middle? Is there ever going to be a backlash against this?
Yeah, we've seen, if you take the last decade or two into consideration, we have seen a lot of bad, like anti-speech policies on campus, but we've also seen a lot of pushback. You get these student organizations like Young Americans for Liberty, Turning Point USA, and they are really rising up and trying to advocate for civil liberties on campus. But then you also see, incidents where you have like Bari Weiss and her friends starting the University of Austin down in Texas, which is, going to be a pro-free speech campus. They literally designed the model after that. So there is pushback. There is an effort here. It's just, look, universities are behemoths. They have a lot of money, a lot of resources. You have to chip away at them. We do it on the legal side by taking legal action against universities, but the state legislators also have a big role to play here.
Charisse, do you have any final message that you want to get across to state lawmakers here at the States and Nation Policy Summit?
Yeah, I think it's really important to recognize, I know we're all loyal to our state universities, but these are universities that even if they're your alma maters, they are affecting students' speech rights. They're affecting educational value coming out of your colleges. If you want to be proud of the schools, don't be afraid to pass policies that have teeth, that actually put the universities at financial risk, losing funding, or something to that extent, or so that they actually will encourage, not just say we're pro-free speech, but they'll actually change their policies. There will be something holding them accountable, because that is the biggest issue that we're seeing at the state level, is that you don't, there's hesitancy to go after state universities.
Speechfirst.org. This is Charisse Smith. Go check out their website. You can get resources on how you can try to move that pendulum back towards the middle when it comes to issues of free speech on our colleges and universities. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another ALEC TV live stream.